The general election isn't just voting for candidates. Voters will also have their say in reshaping government by casting their votes for a number of charter amendment questions. Every county's questions are different, and sometimes what they're asking may not be so straightforward. We break down some of the questions, the reasoning behind them, and what it means if they're passed. Tonight's live broadcast and live stream of Insights on PBS Hawaii start now.
Aloha and welcome to Insights on PBS Hawaii. I'm Daryl Huff. The November ballot isn't just a chance for you to pick the candidates you want to see in office. It's also a chance for you to change how government works by voting yes or no on a number of state constitution and county charter amendments. Tonight we're unpacking what those amendments are about to help you be better informed on what you're voting for. We look forward to your participation in tonight's show. You can email or call in your questions, and you'll find a live stream of this program at pbshawaii.org and the PBS Hawaii YouTube page. Now to our guests. Colin Moore is a public policy analyst and a director of the Matsunaga Institute for Peace, as well as an associate professor with UHERO, the University of Hawaii Economic Research Organization. Blaze Lovell covers government accountability and ethics as a reporter for Honolulu Civil Beat. Recently, he was part of the inaugural class of the New York Times Local Investigations Fellowship. Ashley Mizuo is Hawaii Public Radio's government reporter. She previously worked as the City Hall reporter at the Honolulu Star-Advertiser. And Judith Mills-Wong is the vice president of the League of Women Voters of Hawaii. It's a nonpartisan organization working to protect and expand voting rights and ensure everyone is represented in our democracy. Let's start right off with the state constitutional amendments, and we can look at these as we go. The one that probably has the highest level of interest in the state constitutional choice is, shall the state constitution be amended to repeal the legislature's authority to reserve marriage to opposite-sex couples? Let me start with you. Colin Moore, why is that necessary? What's that about?
Well, as folks may recall, in 1998, Hawaii adopted a constitutional amendment giving the legislature the power to restrict marriage to opposite-sex couples. And this really is, the idea here is, I think, in some ways to right that wrong. It's very symbolic. I think a lot of people think that was the wrong thing to do. Attitudes towards same-sex marriage have shifted dramatically since that period. I think there's also a concern that potentially maybe somewhere down the road, I think it's very unlikely, but I think this partially motivates it, that maybe attitudes could shift again and the legislature could potentially change their mind, and perhaps the Supreme Court would change their ruling that legalized same-sex marriage throughout the country. But I really see this primarily as a symbolic amendment, that folks are saying we shouldn't have done this in 1998, it shouldn't be in the Constitution, and this is going to remove it.
Judith Mills-Wong from League of Women Voters, we were talking about this earlier tonight. I know you're interested in this. Should people see this as a pro same-sex marriage amendment, or there's a lot of negatives, you know, and it gets confusing when you start mixing up all the negatives.
It's true, but as Colin explained, this is reversing something that was allowing something that now is not allowed because of the national decision by the Supreme Court and because of our own law for marriage equality. So voting for this amendment means supporting the idea of same-gender marriage. And of course, League of Women Voters is very much for equality of gender in all different arenas. And so we are for this amendment simply because, as Colin pointed out, it really reverses something that we don't stand for.
Actually, let me try and understand this. So the Constitution, you know, shall the state Constitution be amended to repeal the legislature's authority to reserve marriage to opposite-sex couples. Marriage is not reserved to opposite-sex couples. It almost sounds like marriage is reserved to opposite-sex couples. What?
Yeah, so I think this is one of my favorite constitutional amendments because there's so much history baked into it.
Ever?
Or well, no, of like recent times. But basically, so Hawaii legalized same-sex marriage in 2013 with the Hawaii Marriage Equality Act. But they've left in the Constitution a relic from 1998 that says the legislature shall have the power to reserve marriage to opposite-sex couples. So basically what they're doing is just removing that. And, you know, Hawaii's kind of track on same-sex marriage is really interesting because it was one of the first states, or the first state in the country, to rule in favor of same-sex marriage in 1993. And I think that that's where a lot of this, I guess, momentum in 1994, 1995, 1996, and then eventually 1997 was to put this in our Constitution, was backlash to that 1993 ruling in favor of same-sex marriage. So what this is doing is just taking that part out. And I think for people who are really push this in the legislature to get this out was really because of some of the things happening on the national level, particularly within the Supreme Court. One of the main advocates for getting this removed from the Constitution really talked about, you know, the Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization opinion from Clarence Thomas that considered talking about reconsidering the ruling on codifying same-sex marriage federally. And so I think that was a huge push, or a huge reason why this was put on the ballot for voters, to just get that provision out of there.
I'm really glad you guys have the cheat sheets here, because some of this is like, I mean, I was there when all this stuff happened, and I'm having a hard time keeping track of it. But please, does the Constitution right now protect same-sex marriage?
Well, I'm no lawyer, Daryl, but our laws in Hawaii certainly do. You know, we mentioned the national concern. You saw what happened with the abortion ruling last year. You know, there's some concern that if you know, this sort of thing gets kicked to the state legislature far down the road, someone will come along and try to change those laws. You know, taking this out is a way to sort of protect that piece that's already in our laws.
I know you're not a lawyer, but the suit fooled me, so I was. But so to sum up, this is a way of protecting people's right to marry whom they choose.
Yes.
Although they already have that right. This is
Right.
to prevent the potentially a future legislature from saying, we have the power to restrict marriage in this way. If this is passed, then the legislature will no longer have that power.
Okay, so this brings up this question about blank votes, yes and no votes. If people get confused by some of these amendments and they just leave it blank, Judith Mills-Wong, what's the risk if people just get confused and leave their ballots blank on these things?
I'm going to punt to someone else, but my understanding is that a blank vote counts to the denominator of the whole count. So therefore it essentially acts as a no vote.
The short answer is you need 50% yes, and you include the blank ballots. So if you just have more yes votes than no votes, that's not enough. You have to have more yes votes. You have to have a majority of yes has to be a majority of all of the votes cast, including blank votes.
So blank votes gets to be a significant plurality. It works against passing something.
Yeah, a blank vote is essentially a no vote.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why we're doing this show.
And it's important for folks to remember, because, you know, if you vote, it's best if you vote yes or no. A blank vote really just confuses the eventual outcome of these amendments.
Okay, so now we're going to try the next constitutional amendment, which we've been discussing, and frankly, I have not heard a consensus about exactly what this means, and so we'll give it a shot. You know, shall the Constitution of the state be amended to make appointment and confirmation process for district court judges the same as Supreme Court justices and Intermediate Court of Appeals and Circuit Court judges? Sounds straightforward, except that one of the things that it doesn't make it the same, because the governor appoints those higher level judges and the Chief Justice appoints the district court judges. After that, it would be the same. Is that right, Blaze? I mean,
Yeah, that's correct. So all of the 4 points laid out here that's going to be in the question, everything that happens after the Chief Justice makes that appointment is going to be similar to what happens for your circuit courts, your Intermediate Court of Appeals, and the Supreme Court. So there's this committee called the Judicial Selection Committee, and they are going to take a bunch of applications for these district court positions. They're going to put together a list of at least 4, but no more than 6 applicants, and that's going to go to the Chief Justice. He makes his pick, or she makes her pick, and then that goes to the Senate for confirmation.
Okay, and then how is it different now from the way the circuit courts are? I don't know, Blaze or Ash, you want to go there? How is it different? What's different now that we have to fix?
So right now, it's what happens if the Senate doesn't either take up the confirmation or rejects it. Right now, if the Senate doesn't take it up, it goes back to the Judicial Selection Committee, the secret committee that we just talked about, and then they'll make the pick. If this passes, then there's sort of a different process that will happen if the Senate doesn't take action. It could go back to the Chief Justice for him to select someone else, or it could go back to the Judicial Selection Committee.
So it's meant so that if somebody doesn't take action, you don't end up with a district court seat in limbo for a long period of time till the next legislature. It gives you an alternative way of confirming that person. Is that right, Ash? You're nodding affirmatively.
Yes, and it also just makes it kind of streamlined so that all of them are kind of appointed in the same way, essentially.
Because I think the other thing that I've noticed, Colin, maybe you've noticed this too, there's a lot of district court appointees. There's circuit court appointees, there's Supreme Court appointees, and there's boards and commissions like crazy. The legislature has a lot of these on their plate. So the chances that a district court judge is going to fall off the plate is there, so they need a process.
And I think also, I mean, my understanding too from Senator Carl Rhodes is one of the chief advocates of this. It's that they've had to call a lot of special sessions of the Senate in order to manage these district court appointments, and if making it like all of the other judges would mean that no longer is necessary in the same way.
Oh, I noticed that too. They'll pop up with a special session. Going,
Yeah.
What's that for? And it's almost always judicial nomination.
And sometimes it can be a few every year, and obviously that costs some money,
So this could actually save taxpayer money.
possibly.
Possibly. I'm trying to figure out, give
But I
people
also
a
want to
peg.
point out that it doesn't it doesn't harm the selection process, because it's still a very nonpartisan, clear, only experienced people. So it doesn't in any way take away from the good process that we have in place already.
And it reduces cronyism to a certain extent, which is the reason that we have that process.
Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, this is one of the best things we have going is the Judicial Selection Commission. I mean, many states, as folks may know, I mean, they elect their judges. So we not only don't do that, we have this special commission where people have to apply to get on a list before the Chief Justice, or in most cases, the governor even has a chance to appoint them or pick them off the list. So you're already getting a group of applicants who are vetted, who are not politically connected necessarily, so it doesn't erode that power in any way.
So is there any reason someone would vote against this?
Maybe not vote against, but Senator Rhodes, he's worried that it's a little long, it's a bit confusing, people might not care about it, and they might leave it blank, which would end up being a vote against it.
But everybody here kind of seems to feel like this is one that even though reporters don't endorse certain things, it doesn't seem like anybody here can see a real objection to this.
I don't.
Dead silence. Okay.
Well, in the legislature, there was absolutely zero testimony.
Yeah. Yeah, this like many of the
It's more housekeeping.
yeah, a lot of these that we're going to review tonight are housekeeping.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Well,
cleaning
I
up
think I could find some that aren't housekeeping. And there are the Honolulu Council Charter Amendments, which are, there's some controversy there.
Yeah.
Let me start with the one I'd like to start with is the salaries one, because I'm into that one. So, shall the revised city charter provisions relating to the salaries for council members be amended to cap any annual increase at no more than 5%, require that any changes be tied to the average annual salary changes of city employees in the city's collective bargaining units, and to remove the council's authority to vote on its own raises. Ashley, what's the backstory here? What happened?
Okay, so the way that this currently works is the Honolulu Salary Commission sets the council members' salaries, but the council can then veto it. And so this question is basically asking if the council's vote on their salaries should be removed, and if any increases should be adjusted at the same rate as contracts for city employees, but capped at 5%. And then this goes back to last year when the Salary Commission recommended a 64% raise for council members council member or council chair Tommy Waters refused to let the council vote on that because he believed that they shouldn't be voting on their salaries because no other city employees get to vote on their salaries. There's some controversy. Some of the council members really wanted to veto it, and I think that that's been a problem in the past where the council has felt motivated to veto it because it looks so bad to be. It's just eliminating that power altogether, so the council just doesn't have the choice at all to, make a decision on their own salaries. And I think the confusing thing is this part where they're talking about tied to the changes of city employees. And basically that just means if on average union employees within the city get like a 3% raise, that means the council would then get a 3% raise. Granted, it's capped at 5%.
Blaise, my raises are on merit. Does this take away any merit? I mean, is it going to be automatic raises for the council from now on, as opposed to this voting process that goes on now?
Well, it would still go to the salary commission,
Yeah.
right? The only thing that changes is that the council can't
Veto
vote to pay themselves or can't vote to veto it, and also it's capping it so that we don't end up with these, exorbitant salary increases like you saw last year. But to your point, Darryl, yeah, my pay raises are also based on merit.
Yeah, it seems like what this is doing is essentially setting up a system where the council will automatically get raises whenever city workers get raises. Is that your same view, Judith?
Yes, but let's back up. What happened for several rounds of salary negotiations is the council voted against their own raises for political reasons. Now, anybody who studies inflation knows that what that happens is it just adds up and adds up. So the huge salary increase proposed last time was actually making up for all the times that they didn't get raises. So actually, when you take away their ability to vote on their own raises, you take away two things. Their ability to raise them more than you think it should be, but you also take away the incentive to play political games of, oh, I'm not going to take a raise this year, maybe I'll get 2 next year, that kind of thing. So yes, it does take away any merit increase. I don't think we've had merit increases with city council.
Well, I'm lucky though too. I don't. No one votes on whether I keep my job.
Yeah. I do want to point out that some of the salary commission members are appointed by the council. So in that way, there is that kind of discrepancy there where if you're appointed by council, is there like I could see people feeling like there's no check on that because they're appointing the people who are setting their salaries.
But there are guardrails.
But there are guardrails, yes.
Well, in fact, Colin, I think that was one of the big controversies in this one. It just looked like the fix was in.
It did. I mean, that was what people were really concerned, that it looked like somehow the salary commission was stacked with people close to various council members. I don't know if that's a fair criticism or not, but it certainly was one of them that was made. I mean, obviously the other issue was the 64% just seemed kind of gross to a lot of people for elected officials. But this seems like generally a good charter amendment. I think the argument against it would probably be that it does cap it at 5%. So what happens if we get a lot more inflation and council raises could never go above 5%, and they get increasingly mismatched from what the other high-level city executives. That would seem to me the only argument that I would really make against this would be that the 5% cap seems arbitrary.
Well, let me ask the folks who actually cover the council here. And this might be going off topic a notch, but one thing that's not in this charter amendment is declaring whether or not our council members are supposed to be full-time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that seems to be where the real debate was. They say, we're obviously full-time. But you look at that calendar, it hasn't changed a bit.
I think that's the issue is with the raise, the expectation is that the council is your job, like that is what you're supposed to be doing. But many of the council members have other jobs that are much more lucrative that can kind of supplant what was they considered a low salary. And so because of that, if you're, the average person who wants to run for council and you're going to dedicate yourself 100% to council, that's all the money you're making. When some of your colleagues might have other, side jobs or other businesses that they own, or sometimes they're lawyers. And so anyway, they all kind of have some other income streams on the side. And so the idea, I think, of raising the salary to something that's more livable within Hawaii was they wanted to attract more people who wanted to just do city council work.
You're a big fan, Colin, of a full-time legislature. Do you think that that's the next amendment we should see?
Yes, I mean, this is my concern about this, is that I think the council is trying to have it both ways. On the one side, they say, we need a livable wage, fine, $113,000 might be a reasonable amount of money, but then they also want to be able to continue to work part-time jobs, to practice law or a variety of other consulting gigs, and I think that's where people have problems. And so I would have felt much better about this if we were also talking about defining this as a full-time job, and that wouldn't be so unusual. For example, at the University of Hawaii, if you're a faculty member like me, we are restricted on how much outside income we can make outside of our university salary doing consulting work or other things, and that would be true of other public employees. So it wouldn't be outrageous to imagine a situation where we define it as a full-time job and council members are restricted on the amount of money they can make outside of their council position.
Judith Mills-Wong, what do you think about that? They eliminate the conflict of interest in voting on their own salaries, but they don't eliminate the conflict of interest of having other jobs while they're council members. Do you feel like there should also be a full-time council, like designated full-time?
I think that's something that definitely should be considered, but I don't think it has anything to do with this amendment.
That's okay. I'm trying to make the show,
The show's very interesting. But I feel that I don't want people to vote on something that's not there.
Oh, for another reason.
Right.
Oh, I get it.
But I think that is definitely something that should be considered, and I hadn't thought about how it parallels with university faculty, but that's true, that university faculty cannot, and other state employees cannot. They are considered full-time, and they have to treat that as a full-time job.
So Blaze, getting down to the salary system that we have, one of the things they did say was, we're just like department heads, and we should, or deputy directors, or whatever level they finally settled at. But in fact, those department directors have full-time jobs being department directors.
Right, exactly, and very clearly defined responsibilities, and you have to be, you've got to be in your office from X time to X time. The city council, it's a lot more, flexible with how they spend their time, and to everybody's point, having these outside jobs can also raise the possibilities of conflicts of interest, which was another argument for raising the wages, but also pairing that with banning outside employment, and same issue with the legislature.
Let me just sort of, again, wrap this into a question at the end, and I'm not asking you guys to say how people should vote, but if people said no to this, what do we end up with?
The exact same situation as last year.
Yeah.
I'm sure one day the Salary Commission will offer up a high raise, and the council will have to decide whether or not they should vote on it.
Well, they'll be spooked for several years,
Yeah.
and then they'll do a high raise again, and we'll be back to the whipsaw.
But you're right. The takeaway point here is if you want to restrict the ability for the council to get raises, you would probably want to vote yes on this charter amendment.
Okay, now here's another fun one. Shall the revised city charter be amended to establish an Ocean Safety Commission to review and make recommendations on certain activities of the Department of Ocean Safety and to appoint the Chief of Ocean Safety? Blaze Level, where did we get this one?
I sort of read this as part of the dust-up between Blangiardi and his former ocean safety chief, Titchens. There's that, and then the other issue, is that ocean safety was recently spun off as its own department. Lifeguards have been trying to get away from emergency services for a long time, and yeah.
Well, So Ashley, describe that a little bit further. This is like two things going on in the same amendment, right? There's two things happening here.
Well, no. So originally when they first proposed this at the council, the Ocean Safety Department had not split off from the Emergency Service Department. They weren't sure if they were able to do that with the charter amendment, or if the mayor could do that himself.
So let's start off with the original problem this is meant to solve.
So the problem that this is meant to solve is that the Emergency Services Department was the overarching department, and then ocean safety was within that. And
Which
they
is
felt,
lifeguards.
Which is lifeguards and all of the various things that go along with that. And so because of that, they felt they couldn't secure the correct funding that they needed, or they weren't able to properly advocate for what they needed and the supplies and the lifeguard shacks. And so they decided to split off from the emergency services and create their own Department of Ocean, Mayor Blanchie already decided to split them off and create the Department of Ocean Safety so they could have.
And that part wasn't particularly controversial. There seemed to be consensus around that part.
On that. Yes. And so once they've split off, this is basically saying, should there be an oversight commission over the Department of Ocean Safety that operates kind of similarly to, the Fire Commission or the Police Commission, which obviously oversees the Honolulu Fire Department and the Honolulu Police Department.
Colin, is that a good idea?
Absolutely. I don't see why you wouldn't want a commission to oversee the Ocean Safety Commission in the same way you have one for the Fire Department and the Police Department. It's not actually totally clear to me what happens if this doesn't pass, then who ends up with oversight over this new commission?
It would just become, the new department would just become like the other departments within.
And there wouldn't be a special commission overseeing
so
it.
it would just be appointment, yeah.
But that tends to be the way we use for emergency services departments.
Yeah.
They have this separate commission. So this would make it look like like the police and fire commissions.
And please, that brings it back to the point that you made, this dust up between the mayor and the guy who was very popular in running, or seemed to be very popular in running, the lifeguards.
Yeah, I still don't know that we totally know what that was over. I just recall the reports of police being stationed outside of
the mayor's office.
the offices because some employees were feeling uncomfortable after a heated exchange between them. But that was sort of the one thread that was underlying part of it.
And when the department was established, I think the mayor appointed someone to be the director because we didn't have this yet. And it wasn't the guy he had a fight with.
He was on paid leave already.
Oh, he was on leave, right, okay. But so we have an acting director now of that department. Mm-hmm. And so if this happens, then a commission would take over and hire the new person.
Right.
Judith Mills, how do you feel about a commission in this situation?
Well, we do use that method in most of the significant departments, and this is a fairly large department. So it sets a layer of accountability for the different commissions, or the different departments, under the commissions. I don't disagree with it. I can't say that we have an established position on it.
Is there anybody here who feels like our fire commission, our police commission do a great job? I mean, if we're saying, oh, this is a good way of managing it, Blaze?
Like everything else, I think when it's on paper, it's a great idea. It really depends on who gets appointed to that, commission. For a long time, the police commission, some might argue right now, the police commission, is a dog with no teeth. And so, it's like, it all depends on who gets put in those positions. Are they going to hold the chief accountable? Are they going to dig into the issues that are happening with the lifeguards, with the department? And are they going to be transparent with the public?
My guess is there's going to be a lot less controversy within the Department of Ocean Safety than versus the police.
Yeah, I can't imagine you're going to get the kind of high-level controversy from the Ocean Safety Commission. Maybe there's some very controversial issue they deal with that I can't think of other than trying to save people's lives, which doesn't seem particularly controversial to me. But to Blaze's point, I think that these commissions work when the people appointed on them know a lot about the work of police or the fire department. They're not just appointed because they are political cronies, and I think that's been a problem with the police commission in the past, is you want people who are maybe former law enforcement, or people who are attorneys, or people who are not afraid to stand up to the chief of police and say, this isn't right, or I disagree with this position. And I think that you want a commission not only with teeth, but with people who have the standing that they can ask the right questions.
Is there fine print in this amendment that guarantees that you're going to have a commission like that as opposed to
No.
the best friends of whoever is mayor? No, okay. Just asking. I mean, just throwing that out.
I don't,
Okay.
I don't think
Not any
there's
more
that
or
kind
less.
of teeth in any of the commissions.
Oh, so, okay, well, okay. All right, moving on. There's other county charter amendments that frankly I have not looked at much. I don't live there, but so how do we want to approach this? So let's start with Hawaii County. Okay. Shall the Hawaii County Charter be amended to provide that any vacancy on the county council that occurs or exists after a person was duly elected to fill that seat for the upcoming council term shall be filled by that duly elected successor for the remainder of the unexpired term? Blaise, I don't, or which of you guys?
This is because of the Cindy Evans
Yes.
election last year, right? And so Tim Richards left his council seat to
Become a
run for the
senator.
Senate. He won. Cindy Evans ran to fill his seat. She won outright in the primary in August. But what happened was when Richards took his Senate seat in November, Cindy Evans couldn't go onto the council until December, so they went like a whole month,
a month
without.
with no
Yeah,
representation.
with no
They're
representation.
unmatched terms.
And that might again happen at the end of this election as well. So basically this question is just asking if there is a vacancy in the county council during an election year, if there's an outright winner in the primary election for that seat, will they be able to immediately be sworn in and serve at the remainder of the vacated term before starting their next term the following year? And this is going to be potentially important because council member Sue Lee won their election to the State House in the August primary outright, and she's running unopposed. Council member Sue Lee from the,
Leloy.
yes, she was running unopposed in the general election for a House seat. And so she's going to have, if she will probably win because she's running unopposed, she'll have to vacate. She'll win because she's unopposed. She'll have to
Watch out for those
vacate.
players.
Journalist caveat slipped in there.
She'll vacate that spot and it'll be open. But Dennis Onishi won the primary election outright in August. So if this charter amendment passes, it could allow him to immediately assume that position. So there's no period where the council seat that represents that part of Hilo is left vacant.
In that particular case, that would be only a month or so, right? From
Yeah, and
November to December.
And it wouldn't count towards their term allotment. So it's not like their term would expire a month early because they started a month early.
Are we really talking about gaps of 5 or 6 months, or just a month every
It's
time?
just a month.
Okay. So this idea that you can't leave a seat uncovered, we ran into that with the appointments of some members this year at the legislature.
Why not?
Huh?
For why not, right?
Yeah.
For Waianae and there was
Also-
when the representative.
Yeah, Representative Mark Nakashima passed away.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
This
So-
summer.
How important, Colin, is it for 365 days a year to have a person sitting in that seat?
I don't think it's tremendously important in a lot of cases. I mean, particularly if the legislature isn't in session. But then again, I think in this case, there's not really any good argument about why you shouldn't have someone in place representing the district. And so I think this is sort of a common sense solution to the fact that these terms don't exactly match up. But I think that's a little overblown. I mean, I think that ends up being more of a rhetorical point than a real concern among people in the district. But all things equal, sure, it's better to have someone there representing your district.
And county councils are smaller than the legislature, so each person in there does kind of count for a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah, the councils themselves are smaller, but their districts are often much bigger than the legislature. So they're representing a lot of people.
And they're
big
dealing with
hunks of
more
their-
day-to-day problems, whereas the legislature is dealing with more, big picture policy.
And they meet year round, and so
Yeah.
Right.
there could be
so
a
they
big
could
decision
miss
that
like
happens.
Jessica, this sounds okay to you?
I think it's more or less a housekeeping issue, but I don't see any reason that it shouldn't pass. I mean, it's just a kind of logical way to deal with a situation that's come up twice in a row. So
Okay, so another one. This one is about department heads also in Hawaii County. Shall the Hawaii County Charter be amended to require the mayor to appoint department heads within 30 days of the start of each mayoral term and within 60 days for any vacancy in office that occurs during the mayoral term? I think I get this, but Ash, you want to explain that to me?
So this question is asking if the mayor should be required to appoint all department heads within 30 days of taking office or 60 days of a vacancy. This is basically kind of preventing a loophole which is currently in the charter, which allows department heads who carry over from previous mayoral administrations to not then go again in front of the council to be approved. Because the way it works is the mayor of Hawaii County will appoint the department head, and then the council will confirm that department head. And what the council is saying is basically that technically, if a department heads can be rolled over currently without going before the council again before getting appointed under the new mayor or under the re-elected mayor's new term. Mayor Mitch Roth did try to veto this measure, saying that 30 and 60 days is just not enough time to find an adequate department head because there are so many departments, and the council overrode his veto. So,
Blaze, what's the negative about this? What's wrong with not having this?
Well, yeah, this is actually one of the few amendments we're talking about that has some opposition.
Yeah.
I think Mayor Roth's opposition comes from, he believes that this isn't enough time to get together a cabinet, enough time to interview a lot of people and, gather qualified candidates together for the administration.
It says 30 days from the start of the term. Generally, people have, they get elected in November, or they might even get elected, in August, and so they have some time before they get into office, but they don't have any resources. That's the problem. They can't just do all this before they get into office. Yeah.
That's kind of that was the council's kind of point, was that you should be thinking about who your department heads might be before your day one official on the job. So it's not really just 30 days that you have. You should be thinking about it while you're campaigning and whatnot. But I think a lot of this is actually likely due to controversy over an appointment of Hawaii County's planning director, Zendo Kern, who some of the council members didn't think had proper experience for the job, and he had a consulting firm where some of his clients might be coming before the planning department. So that he narrowly got, confirmed by the council. And I think they want, if mayor came back and tried to roll him over, I think they want them to come before again.
I mean, I think Mayor Roth has a legitimate objection to this. I mean, there are some department head positions that require specialized skills, engineering background. It's not always easy to...
Let alone political alignment.
Right, right. I mean, and if you want to try to do a national search for some of the more technical positions, 30 days isn't enough to do that. And who's going to take a job when you say, well, trust me, I'm about to win, but I haven't won yet. And so, let's start these interviews. I think if you're, for the very political positions, my sense is this is less of a problem. But for the more technical positions, I think this really could be a problem. 30 days isn't that much time. If you think if you're trying to interview a bunch of candidates, you have to go through the job, offer them the job, negotiate for
Then they got to go meet with all the council members.
Right, exactly, exactly.
It's 50 department heads.
Yeah,
he said.
it's a lot.
I believe, yes.
And so, Judith Mills-Wong, this idea of condensing calendars, right? Is that generally good for the public when you force a calendar onto something?
Generally, yes, because it requires adherence to a schedule. But you've made a very persuasive argument about the fact that, especially in the technical positions, it would be really hard to fill a technical job in 30 days. I think most of us have been in or around jobs where it's taken 6 months to get a technical position filled.
So, Blaze, let's say a person that doesn't get confirmed in this period of time or doesn't get appointed in this period of time. What's the enforcement? Does that mean that that person's work is not valid? Like if it's a building department director who has to sign paperwork and someone says, you weren't appointed in 60 days, that's an invalid. Does that have that kind of implications if they can't meet these deadlines, do you think?
I actually don't know. Do they go to the deputy directors in that case?
I think it's unclear. Although I think they're supposed to be...
The deputies are usually appointed too, right?
Yeah.
Isn't this
Well, there's
this
no...
is department heads. This says department heads.
There's no consequence to the mayor. I mean, it's not I don't think that it's clear what would happen if he misses one of the deadlines. He could just go ahead and appoint the person anyway.
I do think that for vacant positions, the deputy would be the acting. But for the initial appointments,
What if he doesn't make the 30-day deadline?
Yeah, I don't want to say exactly. Like
maybe someone will send us a
I think the
question.
answer is nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of symbolic, perhaps, but okay, Maui. Okay, Board of Ethics hired independent staff. That's often the way ethics departments work around the state. No, Blaze?
No, so this charter amendment actually came from one of my stories. After the big Maui bribery case, we wanted to look at the systems that were in place in the county that failed because Stuart Stanton was allowed to accept a bunch of bribes from Milton Troy. And one of the things that we looked at was the Board of Ethics, and we found that they didn't have any dedicated budget or staff to investigate any wrongdoing in the county. So this amendment would allow them to hire that kind of staff and give them resources to do investigations, hire outside people to come in and look into a lot of these cases, whereas before they weren't able to do any of that.
And then, so what do they have? I mean, if
they have they really have no one actually, and they don't have any. They don't really have a budget. They're attached to the Department of Corporation Counsel, which is like the county lawyers and attorneys, and the department assigns them like a secretary part-time and a lawyer part-time that can help out with some ministerial tasks. But what they can actually do, it's sort of almost up to this volunteer board of commissioners to try to do all of the responsibilities laid out in the charter, review ethics disclosures, investigate employees, and they haven't been able to do a lot of those. Yeah, receive complaints, hold like quasi-judicial hearings, and they can't do a lot of that effectively, having no money or dedicated staff.
Judy Mills Wong from
we are
is
definitely
actively nodding.
Yes, I want to talk. We are definitely in favor of this particular position because, as your article said, the problem is they have no resources. So we expect the Ethics Commission to do all the things that we passed or that were passed into law, to look at the lobbyist submissions, to look at the financial submissions, to give advice about whether something is or isn't. And you can't do that if you don't have staff. And so we feel that it is an obvious choice to pay and staff the office to make it able to do what we've told them we want them to do.
There's also the issue of training. I mean, I think one thing we hope the Ethics Commission does is prevent people from engaging in corrupt practices or unethical practices to begin with. And right now, I think it's the personnel department that does the training, but they don't have any particular expertise in ethics. So this would also give them the capacity to have this new independent staff provide consistent training across, for the council members, but for county employees as well.
Dash, you have some notes on this one too?
No.
Well, let me get back to Blaze then. So Blaze, what did they not do in the case of this bribery scandal, and how could they maybe have changed what happened?
Well, in that case, they didn't do anything. In part, it's because they didn't hear any complaints. But what some of the commissioners want to be able to do is not just wait for a complaint to come to them, but actively look for these types of public corruption cases and cases of wrongdoing and try to investigate them and bring them, up into light and resolve them.
Now, we went through a little of this with the Honolulu Ethics Commission when Chuck Totto got sort of undercut by the Corporation Counsel and so on, and ultimately, forced out by his own board. But that was a board, they had a staff, they had attorneys, they did do education. Across the other counties, is Kauai all right? Is the Big Island all right? Do they have active ability to do this?
No, well, their county charters say they do, but Kauai and Hawaii County are a lot like Maui, and they don't have, a ton of money. They don't have a lot of dedicated staff. it's really Honolulu is the outlier in that they actually have an ethics commission and not just a volunteer board. And so in that sense, they're a little bit more like the state ethics commission. That's kind of its own agency.
So this is a statewide program, and we talk about this kind of an issue, and we're talking about Maui, but it sounds like what you're saying is that if voters on Kauai or on the Big Island want to see better, more vigorous ethics enforcement, they need to put some pressure on their legislators and so on to fund it, because the ability is there in their charter as opposed to Maui.
Yeah, and the state ethics commission actually came out with a resolution last year, 2 years ago.
This was part of the Foley Commission, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's part of the Foley Commission. They wanted to get all of the county boards of ethics more funding so that they can be more like the state level ethics commission.
It was one of the few things that didn't pass in the Foley Commission's recommendations.
Really?
And it'll be back.
It'll be back, yes. Okay, so this is a boards and commissions issue, and it seems like boards and commissions are kind of an issue across the state in a number of places. We talked about the gaps in appointments in the Big Island amendments and so on. Shall the charter, this is the Maui charter, shall the charter be amended to minimize the risk of vacancies on boards and commissions generally and specifically with regard to dedicated seats for members residing in less populous areas by allowing the appointment of members of boards and commissions for 2 consecutive full terms or 10 consecutive years, whichever is greater. Whew. Okay. Break this into pieces for me, whoever wants to. Ash, you want to break this to pieces? Colin, you want to break this into pieces?
This is question 3, right? On
question.
This isn't the salary commission.
No. This is the length of the commission term.
Oh, so I think right now they need to take 2 years off between terms, and so you end up with you already have vacancies on the boards, and now you're requiring people are required to take 2 years off, and so you're constantly trying to find new people. What this would do is that it would just basically allow them to serve consecutive terms for many.
So there's kind of a term limit on these guys?
They have to take these 2 years off. You can't serve consecutive terms, which I believe is unique to Maui. In Honolulu, you can serve consecutive
Oh yeah, there's
terms.
people that are on commissions just forever.
Yeah.
But
in Maui you are.
there will still be a term limit, but the term limit will be 2 terms rather than 1 term break, 2-year break. One of the things is that if you can't get a quorum, you can't get any action done. You can't get anything passed. And one of the aspects that they have identified is that if you have this 1-term rule, there are times when you don't have enough people to be able to do the business
You end up with a lot of vacancies.
Right.
And you also sacrifice the benefits of experience. I mean, you want to draw the right line here. I mean, you want to benefit from experience, but you don't want to get people on the commission, especially powerful commissions that are there forever, and then they begin to monopolize the power. And this seems to strike the right balance to me. 2 terms or 10 years that you'll benefit from experience, but no one will be so entrenched that you can never get rid of them.
But what are these? I don't think the average person even knows. If I'm a dentist, I know that there's a dental board. And if I'm a boxer, I know there's a boxing commission. But if I'm not specifically in one of these fields, I don't know about. So, Colin, what kind of things are overseen by these boards and commissions, in the day-to-day operations of government? What kind of specific things do they do?
On Maui?
Or anywhere. We're talking generally, I think, sometimes.
Counties and the state have, how many boards and commissions?
Countless.
Maui has like 37.
Yeah.
37 boards and commissions on one island, for one county.
For one county, yeah.
So what are they? What are some of the more obscure ones? Like, give me 3 or 4 examples.
There's there's the planning commission. They deal with permit.
I think people know. Most people probably know about it.
A liquor commission. There's probably a zoning board of appeals.
Okay.
And a bunch of others that I don't know.
You've mentioned the most powerful ones in a lot of cases. Yeah, but there's a bunch that
people just.
But if you go back to what we were talking about with the Honolulu rules, and do we want a commission for the ocean safety? Every time we create a new department, every time we create a new entity, we also create a commission to oversee that, to have a check on that department.
Well, it does get people involved in government.
Yeah, I'm
Theoretically.
not sure that that was the goal, but yes, yes, it does. But there, I mean, government is a big business with a very dispersed set of responsibilities. So we end up with lots of things, and maybe some of them are out of date. Maybe some of them should be.
There was a sunset law that said you needed to review every, I think it was in Honolulu, there was a sunset thing that said every X amount of time you have to review whether a department or agency even needs to exist. I don't know if they do that
It's
anymore.
like a charter. It's basically supposed to be like I think it's a charter like review committee, and I think it's every 10.
Well, that's the
Commission,
charter
no doubt.
commission, but anyway, it's completely irrelevant. I got a couple more to do. We've got about 5 minutes.
We could have a whole show on the boards and commissions.
Well, we
and
could
whether or
all
not
go.
they're
We
working.
could all go out for a drink and do this, but I don't know if it's going to be very interesting to people at home. So, okay, another Maui Charter amendment, and I'm watching my clock carefully. Shall the charter be amended to require the Salary Commission to determine salaries instead of compensation for elected officials and appointed directors and deputy directors to maintain consistency with the Constitution at Hawaii and remove fiscal barriers to create equity through benefits such as reimbursement of travel costs? Colin, can you help me with that
Okay,
one?
this one is very technical, and my understanding basically is that rather than referring to salaries, they refer to compensation in the Maui Charter, and that creates problems when you talk about reimbursing council members for travel and other things, because that could be read as compensation. The other counties say salary, so
So it's to a certain extent it's semantic, but it also affects these other.
exactly. This is one I would clearly recommend voting yes
Right.
on. I don't see any downside. I think this is just
Okay,
clearing
we
up.
got 5 minutes for
some
Kauai.
unclear
All right, so Police Commission's 90-day window for reporting written investigation results start when the commission receives the investigative report. A deadline on how long the Police Commission can respond to a complaint.
Yeah. So the police commission wanted this amendment because they feel, and they say that sometimes it takes them longer than 90 days to do an investigation, or it takes them longer than 90 days to even hire a contractor to do that investigation. And so this would give them, a little bit more time to get that done.
Can I just ask a question to the other people on the panel? As I read it, this is 90. If this passes, it will be 90 days, but it will have no restriction, no deadline on how long they will have to do the investigation.
Correct.
That's a possibility, yes.
Yeah. Basically, what they're doing is splitting it into 2 parts versus 90 days total.
Okay,
The second is 90 days total. The first is not.
Yeah.
There's no restriction on it.
but basically it says get on it. Right.
Well, it gives them more time.
Yeah, it
So
gives
it
them
gives
more
them
time.
more time.
Because
Yeah.
they do the investigation,
in
then they have 90
90
days
days,
to
yeah.
issue the report.
Okay, next one. Shall the Cost Control Commission be authorized to recommend increased costs if they are expected to generate future cost savings or efficiencies?
Is this
Yes.
This
Hawaii County?
Hawaii.
Hawaii County.
Kauai County,
Yeah,
yeah.
so
No,
the-
Hawaii County, right?
Real quick,
Hawaii.
now we're going to do this in
Hawaii.
about 30
Is
seconds.
basically I think he was the vice chair of the Cost Control Commission that proposed this, chair now. The theory is that, sometimes they've got to spend money to save money. One of the examples from that was when they, some years ago, they created the Department of Human Resources for the county, because at one point all of the Kauai departments had their own HR staff. And so what they want to be able to do is propose these things that might cost money up front, but in the long run would end up saving the county some money.
So it gives them a little more flexibility. Okay. Shall up to 5% of the county's open space fund be available for maintenance of lands, property entitlements, or improvements that were paid for by the fund? Any controversy there? Kauai?
I don't really know. The chair of the
Was not on the list of
The
questions.
chair of the charter commission, though, told me that what they really want to do with that money is they have a bunch of volunteers who want to use their own equipment to take care of some of these open spaces, and that this is sort of a way to get them like some compensation because they're legally required to.
That
do
sounds a
or
little
some
like
such.
something that would happen on Kauai. You go fix some, bro. Get that tractor over there. Go take care of it. So, shall the charter be amended to allow the use of insurance policies for certain or all employees of the county against financial loss? Colin?
This is about the surety bonds. And so real quickly, this is to provide more flexibility for Kauai County to provide provide insurance for its employees. in case they make a mistake.
Yeah.
Okay, so it insures them or insures the county?
It
Insures the county.
The county.
Okay. Shall the charter be amended to establish an ex officio position for youth on boards and commissions to be filled by Kauai resident high school juniors or seniors?
This is a very good idea.
Sounds like a fine thing to me.
Yeah. So this came from a high school senior who, for her senior project, was proposed a similar charter amendment. It was just for one seat on a commission. The charter review commission ended up, since she was 18, they actually made her a commissioner, and then they decided that why don't we just expand this to every board and commission on Kauai.
I love young heroes like that. Good for her. Okay.
Yes.
Mahalo for all of you for joining us tonight, and we thank our guests, political analyst Colin Moore and Ashley Mizuo from Hawaii Public Radio, Blaze Lovell from Honolulu Civil Beat, and Judith Mills Wong from the League of Women Voters. Next week, we're back to sitting down with the candidates, this time featuring candidates from Maui County Council vying to represent the Upcountry and Kahului districts. Please join us then. I'm Daryl Huff for Insights on PBS Hawaii. Aloha.
Local broadcasts of Insights on PBS Hawaii are made possible by the support of viewers like you. Mahalo. Possible by the support of viewers like you. Mahalo. And by Carl Smith Ball, providing legal services throughout Hawaii and